Flight Boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terrorist Moon, Flight Boss, the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now I want to talk about where the fuck did one come from? Because everybody want to know, like, what made them conscious or what made them single themselves out. Because the spirit, your spirit is your space. But, you know, depending on what body and how small you are what body and how small you are, you just perceive space to be all space. But we all know there's space within space. Same way there's worlds within worlds. You see what I'm saying? There's layers within layers. This is where that actual concept came from. You see what I'm saying? There's beings within beings. So this is giving you a level of a concept. So where did one come from? So this is what we need to break down first. One. Now one singles something out. Now what you need to understand about numbers is not actual physical things. We are just doing the actual symbols and signs of it, but numbers are actual frequencies. So like I said, now when you look at numbers in general, now one is like I. That's just like saying I or lowercase l or I and things of that nature. So where did one come from? So we know everything come from the space. Now I'm finna describe to you how your spirit was birthed, or how space was birthed, so you can understand certain things. Because you know everything is space within space. This is why you can go into another space and it vibrates differently. You feel differently. So your spirit is your space. So you stay in the overall space, overall spirit. Now how did you get your peace? Now I'm finna break all that down. Now check this out. You have, now when you looking at numbers, right? Zero itself. Now what is zero? Zero adds. It just add more space. So whatever number is in front of zero, the zero just add more mass, add more weight, add more space to that actual number. So say you had $1, but say you had like 7 zeros next to that dollar. Then that dollar can stretch out more and you're able to do way more with that dollar. So if a dollar got 7 zeros next to it, that's $1 with way more space. And the level of dimensions that space can go through is multitudes. So you have you got multiple versions of that dollar. More space of that dollar. More awareness of that dollar. So that dollar could do way more for you because you got 7 zeros worth of it. You see what I'm saying? So anytime a zero is added on to a number, it's just more space. But here's the thing right here, right? Because you say 1 + 1 = 2. Or you could say 1 + 1 = 2 ones. Or you could say 1 + 1 = 1 2 times. You see what I'm saying? So this is what you need to understand. When you're looking at zero, you can't do that with zero. It doesn't matter how many zeros you put in a zero. So when you look at zero, you like 0 + 0 = 0, right? So you think that's nothing, right? You're probably smiling. You probably got a lot of things going on in your mind right now. But like I told you, as Archangel Uriel, there's always an undertone and a spiritual backing to everything that's in front of you. And numbers itself are not even physical. There's frequencies. You see what I'm saying? And they come from the spirit also, the space also. So this is what you need to understand, what you're looking at. Now that you got the understanding of what space is, and what zero is just adding more space, more weight to be able to bring something into more density. So if one don't got no zero next to it, it's in the lightest density. So the experience is less. So if you only got $1, you could do limited things with that. Now the more zeros you add on to it, the more into density things can come into realm of reality. So if you got a multitude of ones, you could use that to bring a multitude of shapes and forms in your life. Because it's more experience, more weight added. Now, when you look at zero, right? You just thinking in your head, 0 + 0 = 0, right? But listen to what you're saying, right? 0 + 0, you're not saying 0 + 0 = 2 zeros. You're not saying 0 + 0 equals 3 zeros. And then your level of consciousness of your meaning of what zero is, you're not correlating to zero means the space, and it's just covering the subconscious of a 360, which add more zeros is just making the 360 more wider. You see what I'm saying? You're not getting the concept of what you're actually saying. So we know that numbers 1 through 9 equivalent to something, so we know 0 got that same kind of system. But if 1 and all the other numbers came from 0, then it got that same system on a higher level. So we know the higher something goes, the lighter it is, the lesser the experience, the lesser the dimension. So it's only going to be able to do it limited. It's not going to be able to do it multitude of times. So when we're looking at 0, if we know 3 how many times that goes, 6 how many times that go, we know, and 1 how many times that go, 9 how many times that go with the 9 timetables and shit. And if 0 is lighter than all those, the 0 is only can do that from a lesser experience. So when we talk about 0, it can only do that what? 1 time. So when you think about it, think about 0 plus 0. 0 plus 0 equals 0. 0 plus 0 equals what? 1 0. 1 0. This is the creation of one space, a space becoming within the space. Your spirit becoming your spirit being birthed. 0 plus 0 equals 1 0. So as a basic scientist, they'd just be like 0 plus 0 equals 0. But spirituality will let you understand 0 plus 0 equals 1 0. It can't go beyond that. But that's where 1 come from. That's where the number come from. That's where the space being secluded from one space come from. And then I'm going to dive in deeper for y'all so y'all can understand the mind of the overall. Right? So say you live in an overall space, the overall 360. Like I said, God is nothing more but a parameter. So once you start to, and we are all created to expand that parameter. Now the parameter work in an expansion and a contraction kind of way. So everything that develops in its own multitude of an expansion and contraction as a shape and form that gets developed out of that vibration will correlate to that same frequency. Everything in the world is doing that. So for the most part, say you get the first 360, but it hasn't been expanded yet, right? So you just got the overall space. It's not male or female. It's just God, right? Sleep. Now, the first expansion, right? This is the first level of experience. The first yang. The first heaven. First whatever y'all want to call, because this is just what y'all trying to sustain. Y'all trying to sustain the yang part of life instead of the contraction part, which is the dark and the going without. But for the most part, the first expansion, that's the first experience, right? That's the first experience. Now, since that it was so tight and nothing got developed in that first expansion contraction, the contraction could go back, right? Now, another space has been developed from that first experience. You just looking at it as a space within space, but I'm taking you into the spirit right now. As that first contraction with just that one space, expansion, to you it just look like it's still expanding into itself or something. But you need to know this is the first expansion. So this is going to be the first concept. Look, so the first expansion is the first space, right? So when it contract, you got all that node. That's nodes. That's what we call nodes. You got all that nodes there. That's a whole new creation of a space. This is where the concept of going in something gets created. The feminine energy get created. How we separate the feminine from the masculine energy get created. Because here's what happens. Once that first expansion contraction happens, right? You got another expansion going to happen. But that expansion is going to go into the first level of experience again. That first expansion, that happened already. So once that first expansion, contraction, that second expansion is going into a space that it already expanded in. That first experience. This is not physical yet, if you're trying to understand. You see what I'm saying? So that's that second rotation is that first space, once again, expanded into that first space it created when it expanded the first time. So watch this. You got the contraction, 360. It expanded, contracted. Shit about to die. Check this out. Now the first expansion, contraction. Now that node right there, that's the first space, first womb we created, first experience. Now here's the second expansion. Boom, we go into that. That's the first concept of going in. First vibrate. That's the first vibrate. That's the first time the overall God spirit even vibrated. You see what I'm saying? That's going into second. So that's the first creation of time, first creation of experience, first creation of a world that created for itself to experience itself. But in this realm, that's just the spirit becoming a soul. That's when God became an individual. Period. Though it's creating the 3-layer world of the world our God live in as that 3-layer world of itself. You see what I'm saying? I'll give you a concept. So for the most part, now that expansion and contraction, right? Now that's two spaces it has to choose from each other. Now you're going to get the third. Here's where the concept of the Trinity and the third come from, right? Now, with that third expansion and contraction, right? Here's where third person come from. The ability the ability that the spirit has to see things in third person, because we know the first expansion and contraction was the spirit first experience. Then that second expansion and contraction was it going into the realm of the world that it just created, which was the first experience, the first world. You see what I'm saying? The first womb. And then the third expansion, right? Now it's two spaces that from the third expansion and contraction. See, it's the third expansion and contraction. So that first expansion and contraction was the spirit. But once it went in from the second expansion and contraction, right? It created two spaces for itself, which would create two sides of a space. And the end, that's what tolerated from darkness and feminine, because going in is going in from without. So that created the feminine, the darkness, and whatever like that. Then the without was the first expansion and contraction. So then once it went into the second expansion and contraction, that created the second. So that's how we differentiate masculine and feminine. Then you got the third. Now the third, once the third expansion and contraction, remember that first expansion was still the spirit coming, trying to create the first form, which came second, right? So now we got two spaces to choose from the second expansion and contraction. So the third expansion and contraction, the spirit got two spaces to choose from. So now that automatically by default put this one space, this one spirit into third person mode, because this one spirit got two spaces to choose from. Y'all got concepts of give and receive and good and bad and positive and negative. I'm explaining where the fuck this came from. You see what I'm saying? Fuck your 98-year-old gurus that y'all be listening to out there that's Indians sitting on the floor for 1,000 years. Fuck those motherfuckers coming back trying to be trees. Check this out. Now, like I said, now with that third, now you're automatically as a spirit, right? See things in third person. Because now you got these two forms you can move through now, which y'all just look at as space, but this is the spirit making more space for itself, creating a parameter. Now remind you, that third spectrum can end up taking a life of its own if the spirit get lost into its way of creating that. See what I'm saying? But I'm giving you a perspective of the first densities and the first three perspectives of the worlds and the three layers. You see what I'm saying? So the first expansion and contraction, look at that as the frequency. The second expansion and contraction, look at that as the vibration. The third one is this. Now the spirit got automatically third person because it got two places to look from. Look at that as the energy now. So because the spirit has became a body for itself as an energy to move through these two worlds that it created for itself from the expansion and contraction. So now just think about the expansion and contraction, and it keeps doing that. It multiplied into four. Then now you got many expansion and contractions with the overall expansion and contraction, and now the expansion and contraction is that much greater and lesser. See what I'm saying? The contraction can only be here now, can only take that much, and the expansion could go that much greater. Then that's how we all got birthed as spirits. You see what I'm saying? And now we all got the power of the overall. So us as spirits, we create our individual self, which we become souls. We become that one from the overall spirit, right? Because 0 plus 0, this is how our spirits got birthed. Now, I was just explaining mama and daddy spirit and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And where the overall spirit, where they came from. Grandfather spirit, grand spirit, period. Grand spirit, overall spirit. And how mother and father even got created from grand spirit expansion and contractions 3 times. You see what I'm saying? Now, we come from offsprings from the after all that. After we already got mommy, daddy, positive, negative. You see what I'm saying? And this is where we come into play, because then they have sex. Then that's 2 spaces coming together. Then now you got 4 spaces. You see what I'm saying? Then you got 8 spaces, right? Then you got 16 spaces, right? Then you see, and it goes on and on. But those spaces are spirits. So the higher, this is why I call myself Archangel Uriel, because based upon the hierarchy, I know where I'm at. I'm not lost. When I go outside, I know how to align myself. I know how to align my thoughts. I know how to align the bodies that I created for myself. I know I'm the spirit, so I'm not lost. So I'm not never looking. You can only remind me what I already know. I never have to go out and search for what I don't know, or have a loss of understanding, or a sense of not knowing, or a sense of thinking I know. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, I know my position. So I know what I may know and what what I may not know, but I know in that realm of reality, the beings I'm around, they understand that for me. So for the most part, if I fall short, it's because I'm blind in the realm of reality into thinking I'm doing right. But they know up there, as beings, that I already told them if I'm doing something wrong, it's because I'm trying to do right from here, but I'm lost in some type of light based upon the body that I'm in. So don't hold it against me up here. So y'all know my nature. So y'all talk to me and show me. You see what I'm saying? You're not really understanding. Like, you think I'm talking to somebody though, but it's not. It's like that, but it's not. But it is. You see what I'm saying? It's a hierarchy. So when I say I'm the Archangel Uriel, I'm just saying I'm from the highest space. I'm from the highest part of space. Before space got developed down here, where y'all just look at it as a wide space. You see what I'm saying? So when those spaces, vortexes are vibrating and things of that nature, it's from my frequency vibrate and receive messages from that realm of reality. And I bring those down here. So if you know it, it's spaces occupying spaces. Same way your living room space occupy your dining room space. So you won't take your dining room shit and put it in the living room. Same way you won't put the living room TV in the dining room. So, you know, spirit's creating these vortexes within the space. So the way your spirit create how you raw in that space and how you go in that space and the shapes and forms that you create in that space is the best ability how you resonate with that space. Now, if it was a spirit there before you that hold more power there than you, then a lot of times you find yourself agreeing to the terms and conditions of what that space already did. So for an example, the spirit that worked into a body to create the way the living room is, right? That spirit overrides everybody else's spirit. So everybody else who got a living room just bow down to that spirit and be like, okay, it's more comfortable and salutable for us to make the living room look like a couch and a TV and a center table and things of that nature in order for us to feel comfortable that this is a living room. So you just following another spirit the way they reach the aid. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, what you need to understand is this: the spirit is every space, aka spirit, occupy a specific space, because the space is the spirit. So you can say space is really like the first form of spirit you created yourself, because you singled yourself out. So now we know how to separate space within space. So then you have greater spirits where they occupy more space. So once it come down to the lesser spaces, the lesser spirits, their space, aka play out to y'all as a concept or an idea that a multitude of lesser spaces is absorbed in. So this is why when you hear things like Jesus said, live through me or live in them, you're living in, you're trying to say you live in that body. You live in that world. You see what I'm saying? Well, really, Jesus was a specific blood cell that you already experienced when you was a blood cell. You still is a blood cell. That's on a higher level of life. That's an outdated way of trying to reach the egg. But for the most part, that's what you need to understand. Spaces occupying spaces. Spirits occupying spirits. And you got some people who got big spirits, so they absorb all the lesser spirits in they space, aka followers or people that's able to help them. Or then you have people who less spirits. They have to go search for other spirits to make themselves part of a person's bigger spirit so they don't seem lost. You see what I'm saying? So it's spaces occupying spaces. You got your space, I got my space. Don't motherfucking violate my motherfucking space. I won't violate your space. Your space, you probably got a business space. You probably got a lot of shit going on in your space that you created for yourself, and that's your space. If your space don't resonate with my space, I'm not gonna match yours. Now correlate that with spirit. It's the same fucking shit. I see everything that you manifest in your life. That tell me where your spirit is at. Now, if everything you manifest in your life is shit I don't resonate with, I don't care about what you're talking about, I don't care about your trials and tribulations every day, then we ain't got the same spirit. Our spirit is going in two different directions. So I will be wasting my time and doing spiritual disjustice for me mingling myself with you. You see how that works? So, you know, this is just getting deep, but I'm gonna cut this short before they chop my video in half. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air, but where did the motherfucking one come from? Air. And that's your individual self. And I just explained it.